If you've been stuck for months or even years in your current circumstances, maybe it's health that you're not happy with, or your financial status, or relationships, or where you're at in business, and you're ready to break the cycle, today's training is for you. I had a conversation with a VP who reached out to me this week for coaching, and something he said really struck a chord for me because it's the same conversation I've been having with individuals the past couple of years. And that message is, I've been stuck since COVID. So here's the thing, we have lived in a lot of uncertainty and unknowns for the past years. But when a single circumstance or event keeps you looping, living by default in high stress, or being inconsistent, or procrastinating, or numbing on vices, we now become victim to circumstances. The biggest signal to look at is if you've been stuck for a prolonged period, months, or for him 6 years, that's an indicator that you're living in survival mode. So today I'm going to help you break the cycle. I'm going to help you understand what survival mode is, how you got there, and more importantly, how to break the cycles that keep you stuck, looping those unwanted results in autopilot, and start living intentionally so you can create the clarity and forward momentum that you seek. The first step to change always begins with awareness, and I have a free resource to help you get started. Click link below in the description box or visit my website and take the life assessment. Here's the reason awareness is everything. You can't manage what you don't measure. So if you're unaware of the thoughts you've been thinking, you're unaware of those default emotional states driving your behaviors, you can't create new results in your life. That's why awareness is everything. So here's what I want you to do. I'm going to walk you through an exercise on how to become more aware and how to get clear on where you want to be, and you're going to realize there's a gap. And this gap is the current version of you that's created your current results isn't going to create the change that you seek. You literally have to reinvent yourself in order to break these cycles and habits. So let's start there. Let's get to the awareness piece. And here's what I want you to do. The current version of you and all of your current results are the sum total of 3 things. It's your habitual thoughts. And think of thoughts as the first domino in reality creation. The thoughts you're thinking then create the emotional states you live from. And these two combined then drive your habits. And those 3 create your results. Literally, that's it. So what you have to do is look at your current results. Where aren't you happy? Where are you feeling stuck? Where are you seeking change? So that's the first part, right? Where are you stuck? Where? What area of life? Health, finances, relationships, happiness, career, work. Where aren't you happy? Then we can reverse engineer and work backwards. And this is the exact process that I coach my clients through. Getting from where you are, becoming self-aware, creating that clear aim, and closing the gap. So here's what I want you to do. And be honest, no judgment. You're just becoming aware, because here's what's happening under the hood. 95% of your day, every single day, is run by the subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is the repetition of the thoughts, emotions, and habits that you've been thinking and feeling, which all of this is what creates your identity, who you believe you are. And then here's why we stay stuck. You look at your current results, which just reinforces identity. I'm stuck, I'm struggling, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy. And it's this loop that keeps you in that survival mode, living by default. And it's your subconscious mind that is running on autopilot based on what it's familiar and what it's been programmed to do. In order to break the cycle and get new results, you have to become aware, and then you have to start becoming intentional with how you're thinking, feeling, and acting every day. So again, back to the awareness piece, and I want you to do this. Become aware. What are your habits? Are you numbing out on vices? Are you inconsistent? Do you procrastinate? What habits aren't serving you? Right? You already know what they are, but we need to write them down. And by writing them down, now we're acknowledging them, and whatever you aren't changing, you are choosing. So then look at the emotional states you're living from. And here's what I often see. If you're living in constant states of stress, fear, self-doubt, you're focused on lack, worry, you're bored, these emotional states are disempowering. So of course your emotions are then driving these unwanted habits, giving you unwanted results. But it all begins with the thoughts that you're thinking. You have 60,000 plus thoughts every single day, so you could never monitor all of them. But here's the good news. 90% of your daily thoughts are on repeat. That's why awareness is everything. You have to start becoming aware of your patterns of thought, your emotional patterns, and your habitual patterns. Because until these three things change, your results won't. So for example, the gentleman I spoke with this week who's been stuck since COVID. So think about that. 6+ years he's been thinking and feeling in high stress, dysfunction and chaos at work. He's lacking motivation, he's inconsistent, and he's going through the motions. That version of him is what has gotten him to today, his current results. He's not happy, he's not satisfied, he's lost his confidence, he's not fulfilled. So in order to create the happiness, fulfillment, success, abundance, freedom that you seek, you have to change how you are showing up every day. And I like to think about it as creating version 2.0, because the current version of you's created this. If you're not happy, you literally have to become someone else. Now, the neuroscience side of this talks about nerve cells that fire together, wire together. This is what's called Hebb's Law. All that means is the thoughts you've been thinking then create your beliefs. That's it. Beliefs are just thoughts on repetition, but it's your beliefs that then create your perceptions, your decisions, which again drive the emotions and the habits you're living from. And when we're stuck in default, in survival mode, and dwelling on the past, creating more of yesterday, you have a very limited and narrow perception and beliefs. In order to break the cycle, you have to then, let's walk into step number 2. So as I shared, step number 1 is all about awareness. Step number 2 is, despite where you're currently at in all of the major life buckets, your current circumstances, think about them like this. It's old news. They are a reflection based on who you've been. So think about a garden. The thoughts you think are the seeds you plant. The emotional states and habits that you're living from are what is nurturing those seeds. You always reap what you sow. So if you don't like the current harvest, you need new seeds. You need new fertilizer. You need new nurturing. And it's all internal. It's all your internal state of being. So the second step in breaking the cycle and changing comes down creating a clear aim, despite where you're at, which is only feedback based on who you've been. What do you want? What do you want in your bank account and your lifestyle, your experiences, a home, a relationship? How do you want to feel? You have to get so clear on that. And then this is where the gap period comes in. Once you get clear on what you want, you realize, okay, well, I'm here, but what I want is over here, 2.0. So the third step in this process is the daily application to upgrade. It really is that subconscious programming. Remember, subconscious is 95% running your day. Just like your smartphone that upgrades multiple times a year, if you don't upgrade, those viruses and bugs are going to continue to create where you're currently at. So in order to move into 2.0 and have the financial freedom and abundance and health and thriving relationships and fulfillment and success you seek, now you have to get really clear on what does that version of you look like. And this is where the daily application comes in. Now, I go into depth with this with my coaching clients. If you're interested in working with me and closing this gap and fast tracking where you are to where you want to be, I invite you to apply for coaching, which you can do on my website, heatherhakes.com. So from today, let's talk about what does this look like? How do you close the gap? And how do you break the cycle? You break the cycle with awareness. That's always step number one. Step number two, you've gotten clear on what you want. Now let's get clear on that 2.0 version of you, who you would have to be for those wanted outcomes to be normal, to be familiar, to be ordinary. If this is who you've been, living in stress, fear, doubt, lack, bored, dwelling on the past, let's write that down because that's a big one I see most people doing. Just like the gentleman I spoke with this week, been dwelling on the past for more than 6 years, keeping him in this unwanted loop. Who would you have to be? That next version of you would be thinking new thoughts, right? This is where you have to become mindful and intentional. So let's just write that down. You would have to be intentional. And the real word we can use here is be conscious. You have to stay conscious and aware of the thoughts, emotions, and habits that you are showing up as every single day. So we're intentional, we're conscious, we're aware. What emotions would you be living by if you're no longer stressed, worried, in lack, boredom, dwelling on the past? You would be confident, you would have certainty, you would feel empowered, you're grateful, etc. Because these new thoughts and emotions are creating a completely different internal state, which is why you're no longer dwelling on the past and living in the funk, right? So those new thoughts and emotions naturally drive new habits and behaviors. And a lot of work in personal development, which is BS surface level, only talk about habits. As you can see, habits are downstream from identity and thoughts and emotions. So I don't go all on habits. We get to the root cause, which drive our habits. So now that you're thinking and feeling a new way, what are the natural habits? How would you be showing up every day? Well, easy. You'd be consistent. You have follow through, right? That's just normal. And it's a lifestyle. It's who I am, right? A gym rat doesn't have to be inspired or motivated to go to the gym. It's who they are. It's just what they do. They don't even think about it. And I can speak from personal experience. I don't even think about it. Going to the gym is my new default. Going to the gym is my new autopilot. And that's what gets me moving and mental, emotional states to take on my day. I'm very intentional with how I spend my mornings because how you spend your mornings sets the tone for the entire day. So you're consistent. You have follow through. It's become your lifestyle. And this way of thinking and being is now going to create what? New wanted results. Because when you have new inputs, it naturally produces new outputs. Remember, life is a mirror. Your current circumstances are feedback based on who you are being. When you start showing up differently every day, you get new outcomes. This is literally just reality mechanics. And once you understand the pieces in play and that it's 100% an inside job, this is how you get out of your own way. This is how you break the cycle. Let me know what questions you have. Be sure to drop them down below in the comments section. Here's your takeaway from today if you haven't already. The first step to change is always awareness. You have to become aware of that 95% that's driving the show. The second step, despite where you're at, what do you want? And finally, what is the version of you that would already have those wanted outcomes? Thanks for watching today's video. Make sure you subscribe to my channel so you're the first to know when new videos drop. And give me a thumbs up. I'll catch you on the next one.